Dreams don't have to come to you only at night. You can live them too. On this week's episode of the Keep It Uplifting podcast, we have Stefan Heuer out of Annapolis, Maryland, who discusses how a bet on himself took him from Annapolis, Maryland to Nashville, Tennessee to live a life of his dreams. Enjoy this episode. Sometimes it's about more than manifesting. You got to do the work. Before we start, although it says it's recording, I can clip it up, but I usually ask, what would make this the best podcast, or what would make this the best interview that you've ever had?
Man, that's a great question. I guess I would say just primarily just thoughtful questions that would elicit answers that would make me think about my past, my future, my history of my career. Maybe what sets me apart from other artists or other musicians in a very saturated industry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, it looks, I guess it's working. I'll just start now, but
Cool.
I'm gonna start this off with a song. I've been playing it on repeat, and I gotta know what was going on, man. This there's a vibe in here, but at the same time, I watched the video. It seemed like some things was going on. The haircut switched up. You put some parts in there. My boy was wilding out. I gotta know what her name is, dog.
Man,
yeah, of course. I'm gonna start it off. Let me know.
Hey, you came in strong. I respect that, bro. Oh man. So yeah, you read it right. No, that's definitely about a girl. And that was actually about my ex-fiance. We were engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were engaged about almost 2 years ago, and we split up about a year and a half ago. And we were together for a total of 4 years. And we split up primarily because of my career. I had an opportunity to move here to Nashville, where I live now. And she was pretty, comfortable in where she was, and which totally makes sense. To ask somebody to just completely uproot themselves and their whole life and move to a new city that they've never been to for somebody else, that's a big ask,
Right.
So yeah, it was really about not wanting to let go, but at the same time facing the importance of being able to do so, and accepting the future opportunities that I had in front of me. So it was really like career, love, and I just had to decide which one, which is a terrible thing to have to do, but that's where it was.
That kind of goes into another question I have for you. What are the sacrifices that come along with this, man? That people don't really understand. That the growth as an artist, as a business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think with anything where you give your 100%, you're the other person that is with you is inevitably going to have to, budge. I think it's just a byproduct of being with somebody that is 100% into what they're doing. There are things that come along with that. I'm hyper focused in what I want to get done and what I want to achieve. So there's a lot of everything happening around me. Sometimes I can see that as distractions, but as far as what, the other, the partner might have to just, what they kind of have to understand is that, there's a lot of travel involved. So these days, this summer, I've been traveling more than I ever have, I think. So I've been in New City probably just about every weekend. So a lot of time away. It takes a certain level of flexibility in the other person to be able to coexist with that. So it's I think that's a major one. Time away, being flexible with plans changing sometimes at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a certain.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it takes a certain personality. I think.
Well, that does come with it, right? That comes with the terrain. I wanted to play basketball in the NBA because I was good, right? And I knew I would be in city to city, and it seems like it seems like a dream, but just traveling to do podcasts has been a bit of an experience for me.
That's
So,
awesome.
did you really dream about this life from the first time you picked up a guitar? And speak about that
Yeah,
time when you first picked up a guitar.
that's a great question. Probably didn't hit me like the first time I picked up a guitar. The first time I picked up a guitar was when I was like 12 years old, and my dad, both my parents are musicians, and I found my dad's
Oh,
guitar like randomly, like under a bed somewhere. So then I picked it up and just started playing it completely incorrectly. I had it like on my lap, and I was like slapping it, kind of like playing it almost like a piano.
like a banjo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And, but one thing I did know is that I liked the sound that was coming out of what I was doing. I liked that I could manipulate this instrument and I could actually you know, I could make this sound from nothing without even having any knowledge, of the instrument, of course. And yeah, so I started taking lessons and then I got into like the culture, so started like looking up musicians that I really admired and that inspired me. And then I think once I saw that, like the visual aspect of it, that's when the dreams started coming, because I could see it and I was like, that's where I want to be on stage. Sign me up.
Right.
I want to be the tour bus life, the flights, the rock and roll, the other two things that come with rock and roll.
Right.
but but
We gonna get to
man,
that too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get there. We got time, bro. We got
I
time.
want
um, but
but
yeah,
you
no, I think
talk about your
that's it, really.
talk about your first time. Talk about your first time on stage and what being on stage feels like now in comparison to your first
Mhm.
time on stage.
I guess it depends on like what you mean on like on stage, because the first time I ever played like at a venue, it was a frozen yogurt shop in San Antonio, Texas. For like
Word.
I was a part of this incredible nonprofit program called Network for Young Artists when I moved to San Antonio
Mm,
and I was in high school. And this program basically just took the youth and allowed them to have a platform to grow and to learn in music. Yeah, so what they would do is like send out these young musicians to different venues and stuff just for experience, exposure. So my first performance ever was in the corner of a frozen yogurt shop and just playing acoustic, and I couldn't even tell you what I was playing. But as far as like the then and now, it's cool. Like I knew I wanted more than anything to be doing what I'm doing now and performing professionally and, making a full
right.
time living from it. But I think at the time it was also like a pipe dream in a way because I didn't know if that was actually tangible. You know, I knew I wanted
Mm.
it, but like, I was young and I was like, I'm gonna try my hardest to do that, but I don't know if I fully believe it. And then things along the way started progressing. I played my first paid gig at some barbecue joint in San Antonio, and yeah, things started, step by step, started growing. It became more in front of me, and then yeah, I mean, I think just like anything, if you put enough time and effort, they say it takes like 5 years to really uh, to become a professional in something. I don't know if it's always just 5 years, but um, I just kept going and going, and I think that led me to the point that I'm at now.
So you were just in Indiana, right? Or at least from what I've seen, right?
Yeah,
A little while ago.
I was in I was in Syracuse, Indiana. Yeah, 2 weekends ago.
S- So I want to know what that's like, man. I want to know what the goods and what city shows you the most love that you always love to go back to.
Mm. Um. Well, yes. Sometimes when I go to like the Midwest states, it's never really a bad experience. It's just like a non. It's just like there's not a lot going on in the Midwest a lot of the time. I love going there, but it's not like pull up like, all right, let's party, let's go. It's more like,
Yeah.
hey, there's a cow field over there. All right, word. Got some farmers and some Amish people, and you know That's about it in Indiana. But
Nah, but you know what I'm asking, man. Tell
no,
me
no,
where
no.
they
I
show
got
you the love.
yeah, man. Where I
You gave
get
me the
the
political answer because you don't want no problems in the Midwest. Like, look, man, I
I
got
love my
bookings, bro.
people.
You can't be playing.
Hey, listen, I love my people in the Midwest. All right, love my people in the Midwest. I'd say probably the city that shows me the most love is Dallas, Texas, in the sense that I play there the most often. Uh, I play for a lot of private events, and so I'm probably there the most for private events, and I'm there probably 5 6 times a year, and I
Mm,
just love that city, man. It's a cool city. There's a little district in there called Deep Ellum, and really dope spot. A lot of art galleries, like vintage shoe stores and galleries and cool bars and stuff.
beautiful
And
woman.
very beautiful one. I don't know if you know this yet, but I love Latinas. Todo mi vida. I
Uh,
learned Spanish just because of it, and
wow,
yeah, no, not really just because of it,
that's a
but
different that's a different level of game, bro. Where you where you acquire a language, that's a
hey,
different.
I
That's
told you, I go 100% everything I do.
well, speaking of that, I have a question for you about that. Like, what do you say to the person who wants to take the leap, but they have people holding them back. They have things that they don't want to lose, and they just ultimately are in fear of what could happen, but hasn't
hmm
happened.
So, man, you got the great questions. I love that. Yeah, man. I think any level of anything that you really want to go full into, it's going to take some sacrifice. And um, for me, that ended up not really knowing at the time. It ended up being my relationship with my fiance, which is crazy. I never thought
Right,
that something I love so much could interfere with something else that I love so much, someone else. So
right.
like it was crazy. I mean, at the time, I was playing bar gigs like 5 to 6 times a week, making pretty much scraps just to get by. And then I
Mhm.
had an opportunity to move down to Nashville, and I took that. And so I think the main thing is don't be afraid. The people that are in your corner are gonna stay in your corner. The doubters and the people that aren't gonna support you, they're gonna come out and show themselves. And so I think that as long as you have your team backing you, you'll be good.
So you said your parents are musicians. Is the support from them there and consistent, and they're always just driving you to make this dream come true?
Yeah, yeah, man. My initial supporter was my mom. She died when I was younger, when I was 20, and
Sorry to hear that.
she put yeah, thank you, man. She really put the idea in my mind, man. I wouldn't be here, playing music without her. She was the one that forced me to get into that program that I mentioned to you earlier, the Network for Young Artists, and so yeah, I wouldn't be here without her for sure. And my dad was great with paying for lessons, making sure that I have everything I needed, guitars and everything as I was younger. And once I started making money, then it was like, all right, I can support my start supporting my own dream. And
Yeah.
so yeah, they were always supportive, man. I'm thankful for that because not everybody has that.
That's tough, bro. You talked about two major losses here in in a limited lifetime, right? Like, you're not
Yeah.
40 or 50 or anything. You're a young man. How do you cope, right? I've had friends who have lost parents early as well, and they seem to never get off that emotional wheel. They seem to never, get out of that depression. Do you have any words for them? I know this isn't, geared to your career so much, but
Mm.
what would you say to someone who's taken major losses like yourself and been able to overcome them?
Man, I think being able to talk about it with other people that you love and you support and vice versa, I think that helps. Just being able to have the dialogue. Um, just a lot. I meditate, prayer and meditation, and just reminding myself. I think that because it's still regarding my relationship with my ex, that's still like I think about it all the time. And I think that constantly keeping that reminder for myself that I did make the right decision. Everything happened for a reason, you know. Um, I think that that reminder is super beneficial. And if I, because sometimes I would be second guessing myself and saying, man, like, did I go down the right path? And so I think, yeah, just a constant reminder, being like, all right, I made the right move. This is what's best for everybody. And yeah, just being able to recognize your own feelings. You know, a lot of guys tend to
Yeah.
just tuck it back and, you know, just just
Yeah.
continue, get
Yeah.
on with
It's
it.
it's hard to emerge from a loss, of course, right? Or to even acknowledge it, and you seem to be going through it. I can see it in your divinity. There's a lot of songs that you got, man. It's a lot of emotion in your music. Do you hate comparisons? Because
Huh.
when I was sitting here, with the missus, and I was looking at it, and I was like, "What do you think of?" I was like, "Who do you see?" And she was like, "Robin Thicke," and I was like, "Not Post Malone or who was the other guy? I just had him." But like, do you hate comparisons when you when you go to perform and somebody tells you remind them of somebody, or do you just take it as a
Nah,
compliment?
nah, not at all. Unless the comparison sucks. I'm like, what the, you know? Unless it's like you sound like Kesha or something. What, you know? No, no, I got no problem with comparisons because really, it's like I actually like it because it means that they're listening. You know, it's like, oh,
Mm,
wow, they recognize the fact that I've been inspired by a certain artist, and when they do get it right, most of the time they do, because even non
right.
musicians, they got good ears. You know, they know what they're listening to. um, they hear it, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy. How do you know?" Yeah, that's like they influenced me, big time. So
I was listening to your music, man, and I couldn't figure out what genre are you in? Like, what what was the first? I guess when there's 72 million people who can play the guitar, right? And I'm sure you know that there's many guitarists and many vocalists out there, right? You can sing and play the guitar. You can do both. You're very talented. W- What made you stay with the guitar over just using your voice? And what sets you apart from the other 72 million people in the US that are naturally gifted with the guitar or have just picked up the skill?
yeah. To answer the first question, yeah, it's a tough question to answer as far as genre, but I usually classify myself under like alternative R&B or
Mm,
soul blues. I'm very influenced by Motown, like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, all those cats. But like I guess what made me play guitar versus just voice is that guitar was first. So like, I picked up, like I was saying, I picked up guitar, just started
right,
playing. I took lessons before I even thought about singing. That wasn't even in my psyche. And then
right.
I started, people, they heard me play guitar and they were like, "Oh, you're pretty good. Like, have you ever thought about, singing? Just be the singer songwriter dude." I was like,
Right.
"All right, yeah, let me just try." And sounded like absolute dog shit at first. But just like anything. Can I cuss here? I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, of course,
All right, cool. All
brother.
right. I'm like, you seem cool. I don't think you got a problem.
Nah,
uh,
nah, I'm cool, man.
but yeah, no, I think yeah, what came later is I started taking vocal lessons after guitar, and then
Mhm,
yeah, and then it takes a while to be able to do both simultaneously. It's like
right.
the multitasking thing, to being able to focus on moving your hands and also controlling your vocal. Um, so I think that, yeah, I think it just started with guitar.
Okay, okay. You're an independent artist. Um, how much of a struggle is that for you? And has any labels reached out to you? And why do you choose that path? So that's a threefold question there, right?
Yeah, great question. Um, I've had agencies reach out to me.
Okay.
Never any majors. I haven't had any major record labels reach out. Independent, as far as the why, uh, independent labels are becoming more and more relevant, and majors are starting to get pushed out. That's been
Mm,
happening, especially just in the past like decade. I'd say at its fullest, especially with the introduction of streaming. Since
right.
DSP started, it's everybody's like, if you have a team behind you, it's like a street team. If you got the team behind you, you can build it. And that didn't used to be the case. It used to be a necessity for bands to try to sign with majors.
Right.
So I think why is just because it's the easiest. It's like it's the most accessible. I mean, we have the gear that people didn't have back in the day. We have the resources
Hmm.
that people didn't have. Um, what was the third question?
The third question was just, talk to being independent and how,
Mm,
easy or difficult it is.
mm. Yeah, it's definitely difficult not having all of the resources,
Right.
just at your disposal. Yeah. But like, um, I think that I don't know, like if you can build it yourself, like for me, like uh the main thing that I do is I perform venues, but I also perform a lot of private events. And what that does is essentially um that funds my original music career. So that funds my like recording, um my writing, all the gear that I need to be able to do that. Um
I saw
so I
that you were given. I saw that you were giving away proceeds from your music and streams at some point. What was that about? You seem like a very involved guy as far as the program that you started in. To it was a post on Instagram where you saying you were donating proceeds. What's that about?
Yeah, I think that may have been to the NAACP during
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Hmm.
I think that just starting from a point where I I learned music and I was able to do this just as a kid from a nonprofit company that donated their time, and their resources to kids that didn't have much, knowledge, much background of anything. I think that just the fact that that was at the forefront and the start of my career, that was a
Hmm.
good example that was set to be able to learn how to, if you just have everything and keep it to yourself, what kind of example does that set for other people?
Mm. You're such a giving person, man. Uh, the the question, this question isn't about giving. It's more so, um, what I'm trying to figure out how to frame this, but why don't you have a TikTok?
I do have a TikTok.
Like, I was looking for you, man. I couldn't find it. So
For real?
you're taking an independent route. You got YouTube, you got all of these social media marketing things, but I was looking for you on TikTok and I couldn't find you. So I wanted to know
Man,
why, why were you staying away from that leg of marketing? But I guess I'm wrong.
I guess I need to step up the marketing. That's the main thing, right? If you can't find me, man. To be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you what my tag is. That's a bad thing. I think it's just my name, but man, I think initially I resisted TikTok like a lot of other people.
Okay.
Just hearing about the Big Brother aspect
Right,
of
right.
it, and everything. But learning to embrace it, I think has been good. I've actually had fans just from developed fans just from the platform. So um, I guess I need to, I'm gonna double check that so I can
Yeah,
let
man.
you
I
let
saw
you know.
links. I was doing my research on you, man. I saw, your story. I wanted to ask you some questions outside of that, of course. And but I really want to know, like, how is the music business, right? You mentioned San Antonio. Um, you're a friend of Breezy, right? So you met him in
Hmm.
Annapolis.
Hmm.
I'm sure there was some transition from San Antonio to Annapolis, and now you're in Nashville. What is the reality of the music business? Because I thought you were performing in DC. I was like, oh, he lives in DC, so I'm gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the business goes, there's a lot of different things that you can do as a musician. A lot of musicians do the bar scene, which is what I did for years and years. A lot of
Right.
musicians are the hired gun musician, where they'll play lead guitar or keys for a band that touring band that's all over the place, and they're comfortable and content with killing it in their own lane. You know what I mean? And uh, there's a lot of different things. I mean, they got like traveling shows and stuff like that. I mean, there's so many different aspects of the music business that you can choose.
Yeah,
Um,
but people are talking about getting raped out here, bro. I'm I'm asking the real questions as far as um you're in the business. So what does
Yeah.
it really entail? Like, yes, you say you were performing at certain places for crumbs and you got an opportunity to move to Nashville, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But, you're
Mm.
an independent artist. How hard was it acquiring a team? Take me through the journey just a little bit from, you know, going from Annapolis to Nashville, and
Mhm.
what obstacles came along the way, and what lessons learned came along the way as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, it started in Annapolis, making scraps, making crumbs, and, I was able to sustain myself. I just, had to watch spending and all that, and then,
Right.
I met I met somebody, his name is Austin Ellis, who I actually live with now,
Okay.
who opened up this opportunity for me to perform in the private sector. So a lot of more corporate events, weddings, anniversaries, sales stuff, all across the board. And I think that this business is so much who you know versus anything, so much more of that than anything else. And so I was just a lot of people are musicians typically are very prideful, and so when they're given a potential opportunity, a lot of times they just have an initial kickback. It's like, like, oh, now how are you going to tell me how to, like I know what I'm doing. And
Right.
me, I was just like, tell me about it, like so. My boy Austin was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you want to do this and make a lot better money, not be stuck in the bar scene, which it can be a very draining, like soul sucking
Mhm.
gig, because you're pouring out your heart sometimes for people that aren't listening. You're stuck under a TV in the corner of a shitty bar, and
Yeah.
nobody's listening. Whereas now I'm blessed and grateful to be traveling around for people that have specifically hired me. So it's not like, I'm playing and they come into a venue and I just happen to be there. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like I'm the main
You
event. You
came to
know what I
see
mean?
me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
there's a sense of a satisfaction and that just comes from that. It's like, it's not even just about the money. It's more of the feeling and the passion. Because if that spark dies, then it's like the money doesn't even matter because then you're not
Mhm.
even playing for if you're just playing for the money, it's like, man, that's not why I did this. That's not why I picked up the guitar. And, so that's what brought me to Nashville. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so I think that to speak on people that have questions about the business, I think it's just like find your niche, especially um, if you're not finding success in the bar gigs, don't be afraid to pick up the private stuff. Play the covers that you're not used to playing. If it pays the
Right.
bills and it can fund your career, then man, why not?
How do you manage to carve out time to work on, new songs like best things, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, and how do you find the time to carve out time for your personal projects, your passion projects, maybe, and still, do all of these private events where you're traveling from, city to city, state to state.
Yeah, it's kinda finding the gaps, like, in between. Sometimes I'll bring my computer, on the plane, whatever. Sometimes I'll be practicing before a show in my hotel room or Airbnb, and a lot of times that's when, like, something will hit me because I think just being in a different environment, different surroundings, it's like, "Oh, now I have these ideas and something to write about." That's why people always say, like, get out of the norm that you're used to if you wanna get inspired and write something, you know? Um
Yeah, because I was going to ask, as a creative, like you're out here playing covers, learning covers, making sure getting in the reps for these songs. Maybe some of them you're familiar with, but some of them you may not. And you're going out and doing that. That could be draining as far as being a creative. So thank you
Mhm.
for answering that, man.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing I want to know is, how did the partnership with Breed Love happen?
Yeah, that's actually a cool story. I used to work at a guitar shop, an awesome guitar shop in Annapolis, Maryland. It's called Garrett Park Guitars, and I was teaching there, and one of the other staff members at the time, he's no longer there, but the Breed Love corporate guys came in, and because we were a big Breed Love retailer,
Hmm.
I think that's the majority of guitars that we sold. So they came in one day and just chatting it up. And the other staff member, he was like, "Hey man, why don't you just go in there? Why don't you just like make sure you pick up a Breed Love and play one of your songs? Be like, hey, can I just play a song for you? Like just an original." And I'm like, it's not like it's not kind of like I mean I don't know like I don't that seemed a little I was a little scared to do it at the time. I felt like it was like fishing too much, you know what I mean? And he was like, "Man,
Right.
just do it. Like, why not? Like, you miss all the shots you don't take." I was like, "All right, fine. Well, I'll do it." So they're in the guitar room, in the acoustic room, and I come in, introduce myself, like, "Hey guys, um, just wanted to see if I could play you an original song." And I played them a song that I wrote a few years ago. It's called "Centerpiece," and I played it for them, and they liked it. And my friend, who's the other staff member, his name's Nate. He was always in my corner, man. Awesome dude, and always rooting for me. And after they had left, he had sent the founder of the company an email and just like included my links and said, "Hey, Stefan would love to be a Breed Love artist. He'd love to be endorsed by y'all, and just let me know what you think." And I think like 2 days later, I got an email from them with like a congratulatory email, saying, "Hey, welcome to the team," all this, and so I didn't even know what to expect from it. That's my
Yeah.
first and ever endorsement that I've had. So yeah, that's how that happened. I guess a good takeaway might be just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Be vulnerable.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of pride out here as far
Hmm.
as what people won't do, but they say they want the opportunity. And it seems like anybody could give you any type of not anybody, but you're very receptive to advice. You're very open. And I think that's just a key to highlight here is
Hmm.
somebody, offers something to you, take it and see what you could do with it, right? Because
Right.
you got a whole excuse me, you got a whole endorsement out of this, pardon me, you got a whole endorsement out of
Okay.
this, and now you're in Nashville. You're just taking advantage of opportunity after opportunity, and it seems to be guiding you.
Yeah.
Like, so you're in Nashville now,
Hmm.
right? What's major there outside of like how do you like it? How was the move outside of the breakup, right? But how was the move? And what is the biggest blessing about being in Nashville? Because Nashville is where I could see someone with your talents going super far.
Mm. Yeah, ironically, I don't even play that much in Nashville, but just
What?
being in this city, I know, right? Like, what the hell? Why did you move there? What are you doing, bro? I, I think, yeah, I do so many private events that they actually take me on a plane most of the time, so I'm traveling around. But
Wow.
being in the city and just being surrounded by the community and
Mm,
by the diverse music that's here. It's not just a lot of people think it's just country, which obviously it's rooted in country and the history is country, but
right.
it's growing and growing, man. Like the hip hop scene, the R&B scene, rock and roll, like underground, alternative, indie stuff. It's like it's really starting to grow and expand. And Nashville is just such a booming city, man. I mean, everybody's moving from it's like the new Colorado. Like everybody's coming up from Cali and down from New York. But instead now it's like it's all, whether it's corporate, creative, whatever it is, man, it's becoming such a cool city. And so I love living here, man. I live with my best friends next to a lake, the Percy Priest. And so I'm not, that landlocked leaving Annapolis.
Right, right. So
So
what is the best things what is this song about, man? What inspired this? It's definitely a vibe. It's a new song by you. Um can I play a little bit before you answer that question?
for sure.
You be in your bag sometimes. Some I mean, all the I know you feel every but like a couple of these joints last night was a vibe. That's all I got to tell you, bro. Last night was a vibe, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
So this sound like it sound like an amazing night, man. I mean, I was listening to it. We had it on repeat. We was I was obviously I do a lot of research for these episodes, right? But what really inspired what inspired that, man? Because I feel like it's like a summer night. Somebody rolled up, you know. Like it's a vibe, some good music going on. So, what inspired that song?
I think it was like it wasn't really a who for this one. It was
Mm,
more of like a what, and the what was my move. And and at that time, this was like I started writing this about half a year after I moved to Nashville, and just being around here, man, like living living the life that really I truly wanted since I was a kid, being able to be in this musical community and travel around doing what I love to do, all the best things in my life. It was just kind of like a reflection of the life that I was living. Um,
mhm.
yeah, this one usually I do write about a who or like, somebody that's inspired me or affected me personally. And this one was more of just like looking around me and just like gratitude.
Wow. My last question for you, because you're just such an amazing person, man. You've been through a lot. You've taken a lot of losses. Um, what is next for you?
And next, my roommate and I, my business partner, Austin Ellis, we're creating a production company by the name of Goat Shit, and we're this is like a full-fledged production company. We'll be mixing, we'll be mastering, we'll be doing photo, video, promotional, and so really, it's like my next thing is I'd like to start a label versus like joining a label. I want to do major ticketed events. I love the
Hmm.
private stuff and it's super rewarding. But man, I want to start like selling out major venues. So that's next. So we're gonna be doing that in the imminent future.
Okay, and you said Goat Shit is the name of that
Mm-hmm.
production company that you guys are building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you have any links or anywhere people can find you?
You know what? This was a brainchild that was just born about 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
so
okay,
so
okay.
yeah, so we're gonna have to hit the drawing board and get to work very soon here. But yeah, stay on the lookout. We'll definitely be having some links for y'all. In the meantime, you can always check me out. IG Stefan underscore Heuer underscore music. Facebook Stefan Heuer music. TikTok. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one.
Do you ever do lives on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, no, oh, not on TikTok. On IG, I do. I think you have to have 1,000 followers on TikTok to be able to go
okay,
live. So
okay.
I'm like almost over that hump. But IG Live, I do be getting on there sometimes, just with other musicians. Maybe and sometimes when I'm writing or recording or in the studio, just to kind of show the people the ins and outs of what it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're making so much money, so much money outside of social media. Maybe it's not a focus of yours at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would love to jump more into it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of people use it as a necessity, and I use it more as promotion right now. But I'd like to, start building a separate revenue stream just from socials, so I could learn a lot from some people around me that are doing that.
Okay. Okay. Anything you have for the listeners? Anything you want to shout out or anything at all?
Man, shout out to Annapolis. Shout out to Annapolis. That's always my home. So shout out to Breezy. Thank you for being the reason that I met you and that I was able to be on here. That dude is doing so much for the community in Annapolis,
Yes.
and he's filling a gap, there. And I respect that dude very much. And Annapolis is home, even though I'm moving around all the time,
Yeah.
and it's where I got my start. So shout out to the hometown.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I know this was short. It's sweet though. Like I don't try to push episodes or push conversations beyond where they need to go, man. We're gonna ride out with the best things because this was last night's vibe, man. We ain't had no hookah or nothing, but it was a good vibe in here. I
That's what's
mean,
up. I appreciate you, James. Thank you, James. I
thank you,
appreciate you,
boss.
man.
Thank you.
Make sure to like, comment, share, and most importantly, keep it uplifting.
Take it up the hustle.